Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. XRP continues to hold strong in this market despite a recent dip from Bitcoin getting down to the upper $114,000 range. Not surprising. So I'm going to share with you perspective from 10 different XRP chart analysts in this very latest Moon Lambo hot jam, including one who says that XRP has the most bullish chart in crypto, and that is a direct quote. But you probably didn't need anyone to tell you that. You probably sniffed that one out yourself, didn't you? XRP has been the top performing coin since the election out of all top 100 coins by market cap. And it ain't done, folks. It absolutely is not done. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice. And you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. As I record this video, it is 8:53 p.m. Central Time, which is my time zone. It is Friday, July 25th, 2025. XRP is $3.12. Bitcoin at $117,309. Look at the 24-hour low for XRP. Got as low as $3.02 just this morning. But look at Bitcoin. That's a fun little chart there. It got as low as $114,910. And so, yeah, it's true. XRP, for part of it, kind of directionally did something similar, but it did not fall below $3. And that's interesting because when Bitcoin was at a higher price, remember a few days ago when the entire altcoin market tanked, including XRP, but Bitcoin basically held steady. So it was, I can't remember exactly what the price is. Maybe it was 118, 119,000. I think it was somewhere up there anyway. Wherever it was, the point is, Bitcoin price, it was moving sideways. XRP tanked briefly below $3. And here you had Bitcoin tank, which typically brings down the whole market. And yeah, XRP followed a little bit, but to see Bitcoin that much lower at 114,000-ish, and the upper end of that, and then XRP not fall below $3, it's jumped out at me. That's for damn sure. Talk about strength here. Just incredible stuff here. Here's a post from chart analyst Credible Crypto. This is from last night, and he's referencing that breakdown of Bitcoin rather that I just mentioned. And he said, Bitcoin has finally broken down the lows as the prior support zone ended up giving way. Now we can finally get things moving. Remember, this is a lower time frame breakdown and doesn't affect the higher time frame structure, so nothing to be concerned about. Also nice to see some of our favorite alts holding up incredibly well despite the drop on Bitcoin. Yeah, exactly. XRP held up ridiculously well. And so what he's saying here is, big picture, this doesn't change anything, lower time frame breakdown. Not only is it not a big deal, he predicted that this was likely to occur. So the fact that it played out this way, not surprising in the least. This is not a time to be timid in the crypto market. This is not a time to be fearful. This is a time to be excited. Here's a post from chart analyst Kaleo, and he shared this with his 713,000 followers on X. He's one of the more popular, well-known analysts on the entire social media platform here. And this is a Bitcoin chart. He says, nice little retest of the breakout with last night's dip. Now send it higher. And so he was also expecting that. And he posted this, by the way, just a few hours ago. This is at 6:02 p.m. Central Time. He expected this. It's just normal in crypto. It's bullish, going higher after this. And that is what I keep finding from analysts that are commenting on the topic. Here's a post from on-chain analytics firm Santiment. I'm a huge fan of their work. They're just so data-driven. Gotta love it. Here they wrote, while Bitcoin and XRP are seeing low greed levels, Ethereum's plus 147% gain since early April still has traders bullish. Now, folks, I will just say this. I don't think that should be particularly surprising. Ethereum, it was priced in the gutter against Bitcoin and against the US dollar. So the fact that it came back, which I predicted it would, not a price prediction, but I just predicted it would bounce back, is people calling it dead. That was the stupidest damn thing. The fundamentals didn't shift. So if the fundamentals were enough to lead it to this point over the span of a decade, then with them not changing and getting worse, do you think that the price goes down and that means that the fundamentals are now bad? You just have to be an idiot or just not insightful to believe that. And so the fact that Ethereum price came back up, not surprising here, but as a result, yeah, if you're talking about greed levels, well, what do you think happens after Ethereum runs as high as it has? It was at like $1,400 and it ran up to like $3,800. But then they say also here, this is again Santiment, they say, markets move the opposite direction of the crowd's expectations, which actually makes Bitcoin and XRP buy low candidates. So they're saying for those who are interested in purchasing, maybe this is actually a pretty darn good time to do so for those who are so inclined. Here's a post from chart analyst Dr. Cat. He says XRP looks much weaker on lower time frames the last couple of days than other altcoins. But this is very deceiving because on the monthly, it's one of the most, if not the most bullish chart in crypto. XRP has a very interesting tendency to look terrible for a decent amount of time until it goes vertical with no retrace and no mercy for sideliners. And folks, that is spot on. That is XRP in a nutshell. I'm telling you, having had a front row seat watching price action for the better part of a decade at this point, I've been here since 2017, absolutely that's correct. It just beats people up, it emotionally breaks them down. Price of XRP typically moves sideways or down, just does it for long periods of time, years in fact. It's just the way it trends, but then it rockets. I don't know why, but it has always been like that for its entire existence. And you either have exposure to XRP when that fun moment happens, or you don't. And the only way you have it is if you don't wimp out and panic sell every time it goes down a little tiny baby boo bit. Here's a post from chart analyst E. Greg Crypto. He says, this is an XRP USD chart, of course. He says, here are the 3 regions of the cycle top and the mini count wave. And then he says, this region aligns, so region 1, the most sell-off, it's this red region he cited right here. He says this region aligns with the measured move of the inverse 1.236 to 1.618% of wave 4, putting XRP around $4 to $6. This is where the OGs will be cashing in big. I recommend following their plan. Yes, indeed, sage wisdom. I'm not to go too in depth into my buying plan. I've talked about it many times on this channel, but I will say this is something I don't know if I've mentioned very much. Although I may sell some for the first time a little over $5, maybe $5.50. I don't know. It'll be around there. My first sell is probably going to be like 5% of my XRP, and I'm going to sell out ideally most, if not all, of my XRP between $5 to $8. But what I haven't really mentioned too many times in this channel is that I actually intend to sell, assuming we're presented with these prices, because I'm not making a prediction, but I will not be surprised to see $8 or more XRP this cycle. I personally intend to sell the vast majority of my XRP closer to the $7 to $8 end of things. That would be ideal. So I'll start unloading more heavily once you hit a little above 6, and then certainly when you get above 7, I'll be like, okay, let's take the profit here, because it's going to be so life changing for me at that point. I just got to secure it, because even if XRP doubles and goes like $16, it's not going to matter. The life-changing part's already there, so I need to make sure I get it. Even if I doubled it from there, it's like, does that change my life as much? No, it'd be nice. But if you don't know for sure it's going to happen, even though I certainly think it's plausible, I don't think $16 XRP this cycle is remotely crazy. I think there's a very good chance that actually could happen, perhaps. But for me, it's just, what's the frickin' am I really going to risk, after the better part of a decade, everything I've done with XRP, I'm going to risk that much life-changing wealth for me to maybe double it when doubling it isn't as big a deal as just securing it? Like, come on. And then he said here, region 2, most possible. This region is based on the wave 5 count, and it says equal to wave 1, or 61.8% of wave 1 plus 3. Calculating this gives us a potential XRP price of around $11 to $13. Yeah, and I think a lot of people are going to be targeting that. People that have been here a long time and bought cheap, I think a lot of them are going to be like me, and there will be some that are going to sell at least a part of their stash in more in that $4, $5, $6 region. But yeah, I think it's very obvious once you get above $10. My God, can you imagine the FOMO at that point? These ridiculous green candles, because nobody wants to buy any asset, including XRP, when it's cheap. They want to purchase it when it feels safe. Feels safe. It doesn't mean it is safe, because it's already run up that much. But it want to be validated. Of course, if it's run up, well, this is the safe thing to buy, and that's how human minds work. But that is exactly the wrong way to look at things. And then he says region 3, high end, and this is the fun part, folks. And I don't know if this is going to happen, but this price range ain't crazy. He ends up citing here, if you get to that, you're looking at $27 to $30 XRP. Might happen. Not crazy. Don't know if it's going to happen. We're just going to find out together. Here's a post from Chart Analyst Zoom. He says, I've seen a few people on X talk about how XRP is on wave 3, and that's simply not true. It says wave 3 was when XRP went from 50 cents to $3.39. That was plus 575%. It says XRP is currently on its last leg up, wave 5. Wave 3 is typically stronger and longer than wave 5. Targets for wave 5? $7 to $10. And look, I don't know if it's going to peak there, if he even thinks it's going to peak there, but it does seem that way. There are a lot of analysts that are predicting $10 on the upper end for XRP, and those are the more conservative estimates. Most analysts seem to think it's going to go at least a bit higher. They could be correct, but I always find like what's typically the case is that the truth is somewhere in between, from the lowest estimates from a reputable chart analyst to the highest. I don't know where in between, but usually the truth is somewhere in between. So we'll see. I mean, yeah, maybe he's right and credit where it's due. If XRP actually peaks $7 to $10, okay. I'm kind of skeptical of that, but I mean, I admit I don't know. It's just because, well, there are a number of reasons, but again, what I just said a moment ago is certainly one of them. It's just when you have a ton of talented analysts with great track records, and you have the low end and the high end in terms of price expectations, it's usually neither the low end nor the high end. It really is, in my experience, just somewhere in between. So, I mean, we'll find out. Most people are going to be really happy regardless if we get anywhere in that range. I know that I will be. I'll be a little disappointed if we peak at 7 because that will mean that I'll not have sold all of my XRP, but we'll see. Here's a post from chart analyst XR Punky. It says, those fib levels above could be some little take profits area for the wave 3. I believe it could overextend to reach $13, which is my target, which is my target of $10 to $15. We shall see. And so he thinks the market's going to peak somewhere between 10 to 15 bucks. So we'll find out who's right. That would historically not be insane, just in the world of crypto. XRP getting up that, especially after it's been artificially suppressed for so many freaking years. Here's a post from chart analyst Galaxy. Says, time to look at XRP. Just a few days ago, we broke all-time highs, and now we are testing the support. Next time it breaks $3.30, the real party starts. And so he doesn't think that this is anything particularly scary here. He thinks this is going to go way higher than where it is, and he's been pretty vocal about that in recent days. Here's a post from chart analyst Steph is Crypto. It says, XRP seasonality is on our side. Send it to $10, $20, $30. And he's certainly right when he's talking about seasonality. You can see how he's comparing where we are now to 2017, and he ain't wrong, folks. We had a major pump in 2017 in the first half of the year, moved sideways half year, and then the second major pump to top things off. And the second pump was way more impressive than the first pump in terms of XRP priced against the dollar specifically. I think that's going to be the same thing here. We already had a first pump, moved sideways half a year. We're starting to break out. We have broken out, actually. And now we just have to wait and see how high this bitch goes. I'm guessing very high. I'm going to guess very high. Here's a post, or article rather, from chart analyst Rakesh Upadhyay, who writes for Cointelegraph. He says, buyers tried to push XRP above $3.66 resistance on Monday, but the bears held their ground. Failing to resume the uptrend may have tempted short-term buyers to book profits. That pulled the price to the 20-day SMA of $2.96, which is likely to act as a strong support. If the price rebounds off the 20-day SMA with strength, the bulls will make one more attempt to kick the XRP USDT pair above $3.66, the all-time high, of course. It depends on where you go. Most places are citing $3.65, but we're splitting hairs, I guess. Then he says, if they succeed, the pair could ascend to $4 and then $4.50. Okay, and that's in line with what I keep saying. I've made plenty of videos in recent days pointing out that every analyst under the sun who is talking about price action for XRP in the short term thinks the next big jump we have is going to be to that region. Some think maybe even above $5 that quickly. So we'll see, but some big stuff is likely to happen much sooner than later. This bull market is not over, though we are getting towards the end. Here's a post from chart analyst Crypto's XRP 4-hour wants to go for the 21 MA moving average here. So he's thinking in the short term, we're going to get back up to $3.24, which is an important level so far as he's concerned. And then there's this post from chart analyst Casey Trades, XRP USD on the screen. XRP tests critical $3 support. Is wave 3 about to begin? Okay, and so this is where you're going to see, like, there was an analyst that referenced earlier, what are you talking about wave 3? I'm going to let them argue that out, whether it's wave 3 or wave 5 is coming up. They can fight about that. I will just say this, regardless of what you're considering a wave count, because I'm not doing that. I'm not a chart guy. I have no desire to be a chart guy. I'm just a hodler. That's one reason I don't want to be a chart guy, actually, is because it wouldn't change what I do. I do all this work to learn how to do it and then consistently do it. For what? I refuse to change my strategy. I buy and then I hold and do nothing. So, like, I do all that work and all this analysis for what? No, I'm absolutely not. I'm more interested in just getting a broad array of opinions, and that's more than sufficient to figure out what's going on. Because if you follow the right analysts with great track records, you're going to get a real good feel for what's probable. And because when most or all of them say about the same thing, they're almost always right. So that's valuable. That's why I make videos like this where I highlight stuff like that, because it is useful. Absolutely, it's useful. And so I will just say this. I think that we are, whatever way you want to call it, we are at the tail end of the cycle. There's going to be one more major push for XRP. Not that it goes perfectly up in a straight line. I'm not saying that. And it can last for a span of maybe a few weeks or so. That would be historically normal. And then it's going to be over. That's how close we are. When this gets going, I mean, it could be over really, really fast. Like, we could be sitting here a month from now, and it could just be done. Now, I'm not predicting that. I'm just saying that's how close we are to the end. And I do believe that. So anyway, she says, unfortunately, XRP could not hold the $3.21 resistance, and ultimately has come back down to backtest the $3 major support. What's promising is that we have not made a new low. Instead, it appears to have completed a subwave wave 2 of a new trend, reaching a deep .854 retrace. If the low continues to hold, I'm now looking for signs a large impulse subwave of wave 3 to begin. And so I'll pause and note, she posted this in the afternoon at 1:13 p.m. Central. So and obviously XRP's rebounded since then. It's higher. It was $3.12, I believe, when I read the price to you earlier in this video. So it did hold above that. And the dip before that, when was that? A day or two ago? Everything blurs together at this point. So it got down to like $2.98, depending on what exchange you're looking on. Like I said outside of the video, it's holding much stronger than it did last time. It's impressive to see. Anyway, and then she says, from here, if volume begins to rise and price starts creeping back above $3.21 resistance, we could see fresh highs quickly. The first wave 3 target sits near $3.82, which is the 2.618 Fibonacci extension. What's interesting to me is this is the historical all-time high that many websites have cited, although debatable. Actually, it's $3.84. She's off by 2 pennies there. Like go to CoinMarketCap. $3.84 is what they cite, which is incorrect, and I've explained many times in videos why. It's due to false data reported from Korean exchanges. That's the answer in a nutshell. If you want more than that, just Google it. Anyway, and then she says, it's giving me more confidence in this plan. Many are cautious after the recent sell-off or distracted by the upcoming weekend. Perfect time for a surprise. So folks, the best is yet ahead. This is not a time to be fearful. This is a time to be very excited. I'm not this excited most of the time I'm in crypto, because most of the time we're in crypto, it's not a bull market. And we're certainly not in the later exciting stages of a bull market. Now we are. The euphoria will be kicking off sooner than later if history rhymes with itself. This is the time to be excited. It does not make sense to be elated most of the time. Right now it does. It absolutely does. XRP is doing everything that we've always believed that it could, despite the lawsuit, everything we've been through over the last half a decade roughly. We always believed it could do this, and here it is. Look at it. It's on your screen above $3, safely above $3, not breaking a sweat. We always believed this could happen. And now we just need to see it through a little bit further, but this thing is going to melt faces. That, as far as I'm concerned, is a virtual certainty. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!